This is Kevin Harrington, original shark from Shark Tank, inventor of the infomercial, and you're listening to Jamy Bechler from Success is a Choice.
Providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Welcome to Success is a Choice podcast. Today's guest had a huge impact on the way I see sales and the way I interact with people. Ed Decosta is a high-level executive business coach. He's a force on social media and hosts a weekly YouTube show called Get Edified. I first learned of Ed when I got certified as a John Maxwell leadership coach, and he was serving as one of a select few international faculty members in the Maxwell Leadership Development Program. Ed is also an adjunct faculty member in West Virginia University's College of Business and Economics. He teaches professional selling and entrepreneurship courses. So Ed, welcome to the show.
Jamie, I'm delighted to be with you this morning, my friend.
Absolutely. You've had a great career of helping add value to other people and helping to help people achieve the results that they're looking for. You know, but when you look at that, how do you define and measure success throughout your career and when you're working?
Absolutely. Great question, Jamie. Of course, the answer to that question, we could spend the entire podcast discussing. And certainly my definition of success has changed over the years, which I know is true for most people. You know, early on, get a job, get a career, make as much money as you can. And those are, you know, I have no problem with those as intermediary definitions of success. But ultimately, as you gain more experience, as you get older, you start to see the world differently. And what is revealed, and it's not identical for everyone, but what was revealed to me and has been revealed to many other people, it's all about doing what you love to do and loving what you're doing. And to some people, again, depending on your personality and your perspective, they sound cliche or trite, but they're really not. They're not. It's not the cliche, do what you love what you do, and you'll never work again. That's a common phrase. But it really is about, you know, taking risks, you know, getting new challenges, you know, saying yes when you're really not entirely sure that you can deliver on, you know, to the person that you've said yes to, adding value, as you said in the question, to teams, to situations, and to people, and then surprising yourself sometimes by your ability to, you know, to perform. That's how I define success, and that's how I will continue to.
So looking back on your career and you know, maybe the people you've worked with, the things that you've done, I gave a snapshot to our listeners of some of the things that you've done. You know, what kind of stands out to you? What are you most proud of?
Yeah, I think it's not any one thing, but it's a theme. And again, if I represent this as this was Ed's plan from the earliest, you know, years of my life, that's nonsense. It wasn't a plan, but again, it's something you realize as you go through it. You know, I'm a mechanical engineer, and my first job out of college was mechanical engineering. Then I got an MBA and studied finance, and I was a corporate development guy and bought and sold companies for Texas Instruments. And then I got into selling, as you know, your experience with me and my experience with you is about selling and marketing. And so when you throw all those together, it's either, well, Ed has ADD and he can't figure out what he wants to be. But that's not how I choose to look at it, Jamie. I choose to look at it as, you know, I've evolved and I've changed and I've grown. And I'm still figuring it out. I mean, I don't have the definitive answer. As far as I know, my book is not over. You know, I don't know where I am in the book of my life. I'd like to think I'm in the middle chapter somewhere, but I don't know. So it's still a work in process. But I have to say that, you know, when I hear the words, what are you most proud of? Again, given my age, you know, I know a lot of people that can't say this to me, and sad for them. That is, I've not sacrificed my family. I've not sacrificed having fun. I've not sacrificed my faith. You know, I've kept those as part of my daily routine, my priorities, if you will, in spite of the fact that, you know, like most, you know, I put a lot of time and effort into my business and my career.
Now, I was not with that question putting you out to pasture.
I appreciate that. You never know. You never know. You're made VP of special projects, and your office is put at the end of a long hall, and there's nobody near you. I think that's the moment you realize, hey, wait a minute. They're not giving me any work. Yeah, congratulations. You're in the pasture now.
Well, that's even worse when you're a business coach or an entrepreneur, because that means that your wife just put you in that office a long ways away.
We don't want that. That's for sure.
Well, you have a strong presence on social media, in particular LinkedIn. What's some advice you would have for our listeners on building a social media platform or better developing the brand that they have?
Sure. Well, your question, Jamie, contains the answer. LinkedIn is not a collection of resumes. That is the number one myth that people have. Are you on LinkedIn? No, I have a resume. Well, the days of faxing resumes and, depending on the age of the listener, you probably don't know what faxing resume even means or sending it in the mail. Those are gone. They're over. So LinkedIn is not a resume. LinkedIn, your profile is a selling document. Whether you have your own business and you're selling products or services that you deliver, or you're an employee, or regardless of what your profession or vocation is, for-profit, not-for-profit, public, private, it's a selling document. And so, people want to be informed. If they're interested in you, even slightly, give them some meat. Give them something to look at. View it like a selling document, which, as I said, it is. Post on a regular basis, but not excessively. It's not Instagram. It's not Twitter. It's not, some of these other social media platforms which are about, it's not Pinterest. If you had a wonderful Thanksgiving meal, don't put your grandmother's recipe for, for dressing, on LinkedIn. People will disconnect from you. They will unfollow you. Keep it business. Keep it focused on business. There's a whole lot of stuff about LinkedIn, but the last thing I'll say, Jamie, is look at other people's profiles. And, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Look at the style that other people use. I just pulled yours up while I was giving you the answer, and you've got your book, The Leadership Playbook. You've got a picture, wonderful photo of you with John Maxwell, who most people will recognize, some won't. But I can tell, it's a selling document. This is, if I want to find out about Jamy Bechler, I've got a whole lot of information here. I don't know everything, of course, but I have a really good sense of where you are, what you're all about, where you've been, what you've done, what people think about you. You got over 100 people that say you're an expert and knowledgeable about basketball, leadership, and public relations, and 21 more skills. Now, what that necessarily means for me, given what my needs are, is another question. But LinkedIn is a selling tool.
And definitely for our listeners, if you haven't checked out Ed Decosta's LinkedIn page, we will put that in the show notes, but that's definitely something if you're looking for a model or looking for an example of a good page. He's got a lot of videos, a lot of posts. It's a good professional, and it sells what he's selling. It sells what he is all about.
One other thing, let me just add this, and I very much appreciate you saying that. People are going to find you on LinkedIn. Why do I say that? Search for anyone. Go to a Google window and just enter anyone's name. In most cases, the single first hit in a Google search for someone's name is their LinkedIn profile, even if it's a horrible LinkedIn profile. Okay? LinkedIn has priority. And so, it doesn't mean, well, my audience doesn't use LinkedIn a lot. Well, that may be true, but if they use Google and they search for you, they're gonna get your LinkedIn profile. I know some very successful people, Jamie, that I've Googled them to find out, a phone number, an email address, or find out what they're up to, and found woefully out of date LinkedIn profiles, or worse yet, they've got 3 LinkedIn profiles they forgot the password, so they abandoned it and made a new one, okay? And I've told people, hey, listen, you've got to update your LinkedIn profile. Oh, I don't use LinkedIn. Yes, you do, even if you don't think you use it. If you've got a LinkedIn page, a profile, even if it's minimal, people are going to find it just using search engines. And Jamy, I'm telling you, this is a really important point for anyone in any kind of business. It's illogical, right? It's counterintuitive. Why would some other site have priority over a website with your name? Well, you know what? Talk to the folks at Google. Ask them to change it. Good luck. They're not going to.
As I mentioned in the intro, when I went through the John Maxwell training to be a leadership coach, you were a faculty member, and you were teaching the main lane that you were teaching was the sales portion of the curriculum, and I certainly learned a lot. It seems that we are all making sales to some degree every day, whether we're a salesperson or not. What tips would you have for people who need to be persuasive or make sales?
Yeah, what a great question. Every one of you is a salesperson that's listening to Jamy and I. Every one of you. You might be shaking your head no and saying, oh, no. I'm not a salesperson. Maybe you don't have the title of salesperson, but you're selling your ideas. You're selling your thoughts and feelings every single day. If you're in a relationship, a loving relationship with someone, you know how to sell to some degree. And oh, by the way, they know how to sell to you. If you're a child that wants to borrow the car, okay, guess what? You need selling skills. If you've been pulled over by a police officer and you don't want to get a ticket for driving 40 in a 35, congratulations. At that moment, you have got to sell. And so this is a common misperception that people have that, oh, I'm an accountant or I'm an attorney or I'm X, Y, or Z. I don't sell. People are going to buy you first and foremost, which means you've got to buy you. You've got to have confidence. You've got to have self-respect. You've got to understand what your goal is in a particular interaction with other people, because people are going to buy you first. Then and only then, once they've bought you, and I don't mean in a literal sense to buy someone, but I mean they must be comfortable with you. They must be attracted to you in some way. And there have been countless, materials written about this, the whole law of attraction, which is all about how human beings interact with one another. Before anybody buys anything from anyone, they buy you. And so that's a very, very important point. And I've seen, Jamy, people go from struggling to dominating based solely on that, because they were all about the product and they just put the product in front of them and talk all about the product and in many cases overdo it and not even realize that if this prospect that you're speaking to buys you, they're far, far more likely to buy what it is you are actually selling to them.
And you made a statement at the conference that I went to. You said something to the effect of no one's ever lost a sale because of listening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is, oh my goodness, we could talk for days about this. This is a fundamental of human nature, and that is the best communicators in the world. Think about the best communicators ever. Martin Luther King, Winston Churchill. We think of, political leaders or faith leaders or business leaders. The best leaders in the world, the best communicators in the world are the best listeners. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a timeless classic. I read it regularly. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. And, how does one get to understand someone? It's quite simple. You have to listen to them. You listen. You don't have to agree. Understanding doesn't mean agreement. You can put two people politically opposed to one another or have fundamentally different views about a particular subject, and they can still very effectively listen to one another and understand the other person's point of view, perspective, opinion, etc., all the while not agreeing with it. So this notion that you can only do business with people that look like you, sound like you, talk like you, believe like you, practice, politics like you is really nonsense. You should be fairly agnostic, or neutral with regard to, who you do business with, and it really does come down to effectively listening to people.
Now, you've been successful in your own career, having your own business, and also helping others achieve results that they want to achieve. But I imagine things haven't always been smooth. And John Maxwell has a couple books that speak to this. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and then another one is Failing Forward. So my question for you would be, what is one of your favorite failures?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and again, it's not cliche, Jamie, and some people dismiss this concept of the benefits of failures. I mean, John Maxwell, as you correctly point out, has written not one, not even two. He's written over and over and over again about this subject of not fearing failure, but learning from it and growing from it. And I love this question, because, in a 30-year career, man, I've made some really silly mistakes and said some things and done some things that I'm not very proud of, but simply not practicing good business, what we just talked about in terms of listening. And I'll never forget as long as I live, I was the early days of my selling career, literally the first 6 months. I was on a trip. I was asked to go to Kalamazoo, Michigan, to meet with an engineering team, a vice president of engineering and his staff at the Upjohn Company. And I was selling factory automation, machine vision systems. And I can tell you that I didn't have time, and, I was busy, and I was in airplanes and blah, blah, blah. Okay? But the bottom line is I didn't prepare well. And I didn't go in there with an open ear and an open notebook and a pen out, ready to ask questions and listen. I didn't. Why? Because I knew it all. I walked in there confident, ready to rock and roll, and I was going to tell these guys everything they needed to know and show how smart I was, how great my company was. And I walked into a situation with about a dozen people in the room, and I made a fool of myself. Everything I said to them was true. Everything I said to them was true, but it was irrelevant. And I didn't even know it was irrelevant because I didn't ask them a question. And the vice president, the VP, in an embarrassing way. Again, I'm glad it happened. I have no regrets, right? I wish I hadn't done it, but I learned a powerful lesson. Here I am 25 years later telling you about it, and I feel it. I feel the hair on the back of my neck standing on edge, because when he got up, and he wasn't very polite, but I earned his chastising. They had used a competitive product and were using competitors' products, and they were not happy. But I came in there assuming I knew everything that was going on, and I knew nothing. And so, be prepared. What was the objective of the meeting? Right? But I was oblivious to it because I was so full of my own knowledge that I was going to blow them away with my wisdom. And I never did ask what they wanted to hear from me. And so that's one, for me anyway, famous failure that, my boss laughed at me, he really did. He laughed with me too, because I was smart enough to recognize afterwards that, wow, Ed, you earned that. You earned that. You didn't do what you were taught to do. And I've never done it again, I'm happy to say.
We'll rejoin our conversation with Ed Decosta in just a moment. Whether you are an actual salesperson, a teacher, a coach, a business person, or maybe an author, you might want a website. And our friends at HostGator.com are offering our listeners up to 50% off the regular price for website services. Just use promo code SUCCESS. I use HostGator.com for all of my websites, and they have been easy to work with and inexpensive. So remember to use promo code SUCCESS. And now, back to our interview with Ed Decosta. Well, since we are not putting you out to pasture yet or sending you down a long hallway to a room all by yourself, what are some things you're doing to continue to develop yourself and grow as a leader?
Oh, yeah. I honestly, I think growth gives you the fuel to continue growing. So it's self-fulfilling. the more you grow, the more you say yes to new things, the better you get, even if you make mistakes early on. So for me, it's about staying hungry, avoiding complacency. I use the example in some talks I give at the university about Vanilla Ice. I've got to update it because a lot of them don't know who Vanilla Ice is. Some of your audience may not know, but he was an early rapper that had a hit song, Ice Ice Baby. Well, he was on, Where Are They Now? Because, he got consumed by fame and fortune and drugs and everything else. And I think he's got a reality show where he's doing renovations in homes. And his words, this is not me judging him, because I'm not. I'm not going to judge a man or a woman, but he says he got complacent. He started believing his own press clippings, and he lost it. He lost it. So I absolutely refuse to be complacent. The other one that I think is just priceless is be very careful about who you do business with and who you partner with. Partner not only with like-minded people, you've heard that many times, I'm sure, and I'm speaking to you, Jamie, and your audience, but like-hearted people. People that have a heart, that value the things that you value. And sometimes it can be, that understanding can come from a conversation. Other times you just watch their actions. And you ask yourself, and many of us have heard this before, you become the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Well, if that is true, some of you may not believe it, but if it was true, would you want to become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? And if the answer to that is I don't know or no, then be careful about partnering with those people, because it's just natural for us to, that's why we speak the language we speak. None of us chose to speak English as infants. We spoke English because our parents were speaking English, our siblings, our family, our friends, our family's friends were speaking English. And if you were born in China, you were speaking Chinese, et cetera, et cetera. So we are very much products of our environment. So be extremely careful about the environments that you put yourself in.
Well, speaking of the people that you spend time with, who would be someone that you would love to meet or spend time with that you don't already know?
Wow. I tell you, it's potentially a divisive answer to the question, but the first thought I had was our president, right? And again, it's not a political statement at all. I think it's undeniable that he's been controversial, that he has been very vocal and outspoken, and to many people's ears and eyes, misguided. And I'm not talking about the policies and the politics. This is not advocating for the left or the right or moderation. It's really not. It's simply, I wonder, does he have a sounding board? Does he have someone? And I got to believe he does. He's a president of the United States. But I really wonder, does he have anybody that says, Mr. Trump, President Trump, Donnie, don't tweet that. I know it's funny to you. I know you're angry. I know you're X, Y, or Z, and you have this emotion attached to this thought. But you have an obligation as the leader of the free world to exercise discretion and judgment. And not everybody that comes across your radar that irritates you or annoys you is worthy of you broadcasting it with tools that are very new to the world. We don't know how John F. Kennedy felt about every single thing. Why? Because he didn't have a cell phone. He didn't have the ability to tweet it, immediately. And so I would find it fascinating not only to listen to the guy, I'm somewhat familiar with him, but also if he was open to it, to get some free coaching, or maybe not free. He certainly had the money.
Well, there's no denying that, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, he is one of the masters, if not the master, of gaining attention.
Many people say that is his objective. That old, I don't care what you write about me, just spell my name right in the newspaper. Any press is good press. And if he buys that, then, he's certainly getting it. But again, how much controversy does a president need to be in the press every day? Every president's in the press every day, for the most part.
Yeah, you're right, though. It would be very interesting to sit down and just pick his brain or get inside his brain and see, where his thoughts are. Why, does he have a master plan, or is he just knee-jerk reacting and off-the-cuff type stuff?
I really would love, because to me, it would be like a hushed, whispering kind of conversation, like, Ed, I understand what you're saying. I agree with you. I went to Wharton. Okay, I know you went to Wharton. You went to a great school. Okay, this is all part of my master plan. Like, okay. But you're not like a Bond villain, are you? You're not trying to take over the world and, turn us all into zombies. Oh, no. Here's the overall plan. And if it's wonderful, then great. I'll shut up and I'll just let you do what you do. But recognize from the outside, it looks like you're easily provoked by people who shouldn't be able to provoke you.
That makes sense. I didn't see that one coming. I thought you were going to say Bill Belichick.
Well, Bill Belichick, I would love to meet for like 3 minutes. Because that would be about how long it took for him to tell me what he wanted to tell me, and then me not irritate him. Okay, one game at a time, do your job, next man up. Okay, thanks, Bill. See ya. Over the years, I've come to find out, and this is shocking to some people, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I know grown men and women living wonderfully balanced, successful, fulfilling lives that have never turned on ESPN. And when I first found that out, I thought, that's not possible. How can you not know? How can you not know? And I'm blessed to be married to Linda for 31 years. From the first year we were married, and this was the summer of 1987, we were living in Dallas, and we went to a Red Sox game against the Texas Rangers. And so, here I am. I love the Red Sox. I'm now living in Texas. I'm so excited. And my wife asked me if I played with any of them, and she's pointing to the Red Sox on the field. We are in the stands, and I didn't understand the question. I thought, what do you mean? Did I play with any of them? Who? Like those guys. The Red Sox. Like, how would I have played with them, honey? She said, well, you played high school baseball in Boston. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I did. But number one, those guys aren't from Boston. And that is now my wife, right? We dated for all through college. She thought the players on the team, she thinks the Denver Broncos are all grown up in Denver, it's like, no, that guy's from the Dominican Republic, and that guy playing second base, he's from California, and he's from wherever. She had no idea, and honestly, Jamie, that was my first awareness that my wife values a lot of things. Following sports in a very close way is not one of them. So, yes, I am a fan, but I have put it in its place. It's part of my fun. It's my sinful pleasure, if you will. And, I go to games when I can. But aside from that, I'm focused on other things.
What is a $100 purchase or less that has had a profound impact on you?
I think anytime you're giving something to someone, and I've given a whole lot of stuff to people, not more than most, I won't say that. But in terms of purchases, they would have to be books. The book Good to Great by Jim Collins, Getting Things Done by David Allen, certainly The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, which I think I've already mentioned. Some of these books, and the three of them you could probably get for free, or certainly for free in the library, and buying them on Amazon, you could get them for just a few dollars used plus shipping. And so those materials, when I look back, I did not realize when I was reading those materials how profoundly they would impact the way I think, the way I feel, the way I behave. And I'm very, very grateful for them.
Is there a productivity tool or some kind of an app that's very useful and valuable to you in your everyday life?
Well, that's a loaded question for me, though, because, yes, I actually have one. It's called the Daily Edge. You can get it on my website. I know this sounds like just a horrible plug, but I don't mean it that way because, I'm running a special now, and the Daily Edge is free. And oh, by the way, the Daily Edge has always been free, so it's really not a special. It's free. And some people look at it and they're blown away by it. Some people look at it, Jamie, and they shrug their shoulders and say, this is like a glorified yellow pad. Okay, fine. If it's a glorified yellow pad, then don't download it. Just use a yellow pad. But it's based upon my application of the 7 habits. The 7th habit, I know this sounds like a Stephen Covey commercial now, the 7th habit of the 7 habits, and everyone ought to know this, but they don't, is sharpen the saw. And of course, it's a metaphor. It has nothing to do with a real saw or your need to sharpen it. You are the saw. And so it's the principle of, working hard, working smart, working on your highest priorities each and every day. And so I extrapolated on that point, not that Dr. Covey needed me to fix anything. He didn't. But I use the metaphor of an edge, keeping yourself sharp. You've heard that. Get the edge, keep your edge, et cetera, et cetera. So it's called Daily Edge, and you can, if you just Google Ed Decosta Daily Edge, the PDF of the will appear, and you can download it, print it, and go to town.
Where can people connect with you or learn more about you other than just typing your name into the Google machine?
Yeah, I mean, you choose other ways to do it, but there's nothing better than that. I mean, just go to eddecosta.com. There's more there about me than you possibly could want to know. As you mentioned, and you said it, and I don't know that people picked up on the significance of it, is, I've got tons of videos, hundreds and hundreds of videos that I've made over the years, the Get Edified series. But there are also, some of them are available embedded into my LinkedIn profile. And the last time I checked, fewer than 5% of people on LinkedIn have embedded videos. And for some people, I admit, it may not make a lot of sense for you to make a video to embed into LinkedIn. But anybody who's, if you've got your own business or you're a service provider or you're in multi-level marketing or any number of businesses, again, you've heard it, a picture speaks 1,000 words, right? That's not a literal thing. It's a figure of speech, meaning people get a whole lot more information about you looking at your photo than reading your words. Well, if that's true, and I believe it's true, then moving pictures, otherwise known as video, people get enormous information. I've literally gotten clients who have messaged me about my availability, and I think we're going to have a conversation about compatibility. And they're like, no, I watched about 2 hours of your videos. Love your sense of humor. I'm like, oh, you're the guy. Wonderful. I found him. I love your style. It's direct, blah, blah, blah. And so, reading through the LinkedIn, going to the website, eddecosta.com, YouTube channel, any of those, just like you would look up anyone, truly.
Ed, we really appreciate your insights. Those are great today, and I think you added a lot of value to our audience, so thanks a lot.
No, I appreciate it, Jamie, and I hope I've served your purpose. I hope I've added some value to the listeners, and look forward to chatting with you again, my friend.
As I said in the intro, Ed Decosta had a huge influence on me as I went through the John Maxwell certification program. I learned a ton from him, and I also learned a lot today. I took a bunch of notes. I hope that you did too. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode. And if you do, there's an easy way that you can support it without spending any of your hard-earned dollars. Just head over to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating and a quick comment if you want. It's simple, it's easy, it's free. It's the best way to make sure that we are able to keep doing this podcast and keep adding value to listeners like you each week. Thanks so much for doing this. And until next time, remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?